Hey guys, we're going to do the first part of the notes using your worksheet. The worksheet looks like this. It's the first worksheet of your packet, so you want to take that out. Pause it if you need to. The pictures didn't copy so great, so if you want, you can reprint this from another printer in black and white, or better yet, you can go back to Haiku and print off the huge color heart image, which looks like this. And if you print it in color, even better, but you can decide how you want to do that. The copy you have is good enough to go through the stuff we're doing. Some of the lines might, like some of the boundaries might be hard to see, but you'll be able to figure it out. So we're going to do this way instead of going through the first 3 pages of the notes. Keep in mind a couple of big things, that the right side of the heart is over here and the left side of the heart is over here. This is what you're looking at on this worksheet, is the frontal view of a heart as it is sitting in someone's thoracic cavity. And so an easy mistake to make is to switch around right and left, because it's just easy to do. It's perspective. Number 1, superior vena cava, and so that is the big blue tube. Blue because it contains deoxygenated blood. The vein that's bringing blood back from the top portion of the heart into the right atrium, and the inferior vena cava would be down here underneath, and that's bringing deoxygenated blood back to the heart from the basically bottom of the heart, extremities, and most of the organs. And so here are the holes on the inside that you might want to darken in. Just makes little circles here just so you can see where those entryways are. And then number 3 is the right atrium. Again, it's on the left side of your picture, but keep in mind the perspective. That's where the blood comes in. Deoxygenated blood comes into the heart, and so we're basically going to take this like in the order of the path of blood. The next thing it would do is pass through the tricuspid valve. You see these 3 little white lines on here. Those are the parts that are attaching to these muscles right here that we'll get to. Actually, let's just do them right away. Papillary muscle 17. There's some on this side. You might want to do it this way. Put little lines to them. Boop, boop, and boop. However, they are also on the other side, so let's do them too. Same thing right here and right there. Make your picture a little bit nicer. Trying to put too many numbers on the inside might get kind of messy, because what we need to do next is label the right ventricle, which is number 7, and that would be right here. So again, if you put too many numbers on the inside, you might mess up your picture. I'm also going to draw a little boundary for the right ventricle, which basically is like somewhere around there where the valve closes, up to this valve here, around this edge, and right there. So if you want to draw a little boundary of the right ventricle, that might be helpful. I'm going to erase it from my picture so that this picture doesn't get too messy. You're welcome to do it how you want it. After the blood passes through the tricuspid valve to the right ventricle, it's going to go out to the lungs. So this one's easy to remember because it is called the pulmonary valve, and that is number 14. This is also called a semilunar valve. You can see from the picture here the shape of these guys. It looks like a crescent moon. All right, so that's number 14. This pulmonary valve, pulmonary meaning the lungs, so blood is going to the lungs right here. And so I'm just going to put the 14 close enough. And once that blood exits here, it's traveling out onto the pulmonary trunk, which is number 18. And then it's going to pass to the right lung and left lung from here. And so we have 21. Left pulmonary artery. Artery is talking about going away from the heart. Don't get confused here. This is the only part of the body where the arteries are deoxygenated. All right, that's a really tricky thing to remember. So put that on your sheet somehow, or make a note of that. These are the only arteries that contain deoxygenated blood. All right, all the other arteries in your body are coming from the aorta and delivering all the oxygen and nutrients to the rest of the tissues all over throughout the body. All right, so blood is going. If you want to draw arrows on here, you can. But again, it just depends on how much mess you want to make on your worksheet. Arrows are pretty easy. Coming in here, coming in there, and dropping down through here, coming up in there, out here, to go get some oxygen. This sneaks behind here, so it goes behind the aorta, behind vena cava here, comes out there. Something else you might want to do is to draw in some lungs on either side. I'm not going to make them to scale just because we don't need to. But yeah, that'd be a good thing to do too, is to add lungs on both sides, so you can get the better picture of about what this really looks like. And obviously this is not a great lung picture, but just to get the idea, we'll do respiratory system in the next unit. And if you want to label this left lung, go ahead, just so you know what you're looking at, since your picture might be as terrible as mine. And then from the lungs, obviously, and do this on both sides, lung on both sides, if you wish. And obviously from the lungs, that's where the blood's picking up oxygen, and so we're coming back. Away from the heart is artery, so that's why these are pulmonary arteries. A, away, if you remember that. Away from the heart, everything's in relationship to the heart, so arteries are away, A, away. And then the veins are back towards the heart, so TV, towards the heart is for veins. And again, this is the only part that it really gets tricky, so it's a good mnemonic to remember, is because this area where the pulmonary veins, which are 20, let's see, what do we have? 20 right pulmonary veins. Okay, so right pulmonary veins over here, both of these guys over here, these little red tubes, and 19 are the left pulmonary veins, so that would be these guys. Right, and again, if you want to include arrows on here, you can do that for both sides. And the blood here is coming back in through these little holes. That one's easy to see. But what you might want to do on your picture is draw in two little holes over here. They're actually behind the pulmonary trunk, so you can't see them, but we'll just draw them in to make believe. And that's where the blood comes in from all the way over here, sneaks behind all the way back here from the right lung, both sides, comes all the way through back here, and then squirts out right there. All right, and that is number 4, I believe, left atrium, where the blood comes in oxygenated from the lungs. It's going to pass through the mitral valve, which is number 6, also called bicuspid because it only has 2 parts to it connected to the papillary muscle. And then the left ventricle is basically all of this part. Watch out for this valve right here. We'll get to that in just a second. All along here, all there. So that whole place is the left ventricle. So depending on how you want to label that is up to you to make it nice and neat and easy to learn something from. I'm just going to put an 8 right in the middle, sort of ish of it. And then after that blood comes in here, it's going to get kicked out when the left ventricle pumps. And this is the most important part, is pumping the blood out to the rest of the body, that strength of the left ventricle. And it's going to pass through right here, which is another semilunar valve. So label both of these, semilunar valve. And this gives you, this is the chopped open view of it, cut open view. This is a little bit better view of it, looks like a little bum. That's another semilunar valve. Again, you can tell by the shape of it, kind of look like crescent moons. This is the aortic valve, number 15. Right there, that might be something you want to label on or lead or 2 out from the outside, it's up to you. And then that blood's going to come up right through here, right behind pulmonary trunk, right through here, up into the aorta. Alright, so what do we have? We have aortic valve. Oh, we didn't do the, we'll do that in a second. Ascending aorta, there it is, number 12. Is first. See how the blood's going up against gravity? So that's number 12. The aortic arch is number 11. That's basically just right there, the part where it kind of goes from blood going up to blood going down. If you want to show the arrows there. And then that would be the descending aorta, which of course is number 13. However, 13 does not end there. Our picture, you can see, has more to it. This is all the blood going from the heart down to organs underneath it, including your legs, everything underneath the heart. So that's descending order, aorta as well. 13 down here, and also 13 up here. The one I forgot to put on here, number 16, I just remembered they were on here. Number's way up here. I'll just put it right here. Those little white lines are the tendons holding on to that valve. Both these valves, tricuspid and bicuspid valves. These guys here, the little white lines, are the chordae tendineae. Basically, tendons that are holding the muscle to the valve. All right. Sorry about those. Number 16, chordae tendineae. And where are we? Oh, we got to get up here. Where do we go? 20. Yeah, so here we go. So 23 is the brachiocephalic artery right here. Your best bet is to just stick it right on there. And there's an error on your worksheet that I forgot to correct from last year. Dang it. All right, so stick 23 right on there. And what you should also do is draw in what's truly happening here. Brachiocephalic meaning or suggesting that there are two things going on there at the same time, which is why it's named that. Brachy meaning, everyone repeat after your partner that you're watching the video with. What does brachy mean? And cephalic, or C-E-P-H-A-L, is referring to the head. So we have a couple things to add in here, and the numbers are good, but the I think at your where are we? Oh, no, we're good. I thought I messed up the numbers. So 24 is the right subclavian, which is going underneath the clavicle, out to the arms, or out to the right arm. And the right common carotid is number 25. That's going up to the brain. Ooh, and also on this side, you might want to draw in these guys. A weird sort of anatomical tidbit of evolution is the brachiocephalic artery, the three tubes that come out here, the brachiocephalic branches off into the two that are already shown here, which is just one of those weird quirks of human anatomy. Make sure you put 25 in the right spot, or a good enough spot that you can see that it is the right common carotid. And then the left common carotid would be 26, right across from it. And if you want in here, write the words TO to the brain, TO brain, so that you know where those are going. And if you want to continue with your arrows, you can do that. This is all going up to the brain. These guys are going out to the arms. Right arm over here, and left arm over here. That would be 27. Left subclavian going underneath the clavicle, sideways, just like the clavicle. Pretty easy to remember. To the arm. Left arm, right arm. And then we also have the three layers of the heart tissue, and it might be kind of hard to label them because it's kind of hard to see on your worksheet, especially down here. But this little line down here, I'm going to call the epicardium, epi meaning the outermost portion of the heart. The myocardium is that middle muscular part. You remember in the muscle unit, everything was myogram. Everything was myo, so that refers to the muscular unit, the muscular tissue, which is the most important part of the cardiac tissue, which is, especially right here. Notice how thick it is, that it can pump all the blood out of this ventricle out and create that blood pressure all the way out to your toes. That blood pressure is created right here by the force of the left ventricle. And then the endocardium, which would be like this very inner lining, which is really not even on your picture. You just kind of have to draw something in to make that inner lining. I mean, technically it's all of this inside of here, but that'd be hard to label and make sense out of. So the inner lining of the heart would be number 30, and that's just everywhere. So like the very inner lining of the atria and ventricles is all endocardium, endo meaning into, right inside. And that is that.